our Year of the Dragon practice tonight. So I'm often inspired by these kinds of things. My teacher, he's very influenced by Eastern philosophies, Buddhism, Chinese medicine, all those things. And usually every year he does practice for the Lunar New Year. So last 2 years he did the Year of the Tiger and the Year of the Rabbit. He didn't do one this year, so I was kind of surprised. But I'm like, I'm doing it anyway because I like dragons. So last year was the Year of the Rabbit, and every season in the Chinese astrology or every year rather, is associated with one of the animals in the tradition. So there's like an ox and a pig and a snake and the rabbit. So this year's the Year of the Dragon, and it's the only kind of mystical creature out of the 12. So every 12 years is a cycle. And also every year is associated with one of the 5 elements, as they're known in Chinese medicine. So the Chinese medicine elements are a little different from the Ayurveda elements that I sometimes talk about. So they're slightly different. But anyway, there's an element called wood in Chinese medicine, which is not present in Ayurveda. So wood is the year this year. So it's a wood dragon, which is actually a lot better than a fire dragon. So we're kind of got off lucky there, because if it were a fire dragon, it would be even more kind of, powerful energy, let's put it that way. But the kind of interesting thing is that the Eastern dragons are really not so ferocious. They're associated with royalty and nobility. So if you think about the Chinese tradition, like you see dragons around the royalty. And the dragons are said to be the guardians of the temples and the monasteries. And so you see statues of the dragons outside. And they're known to be benevolent. So if you're born in the Year of the Dragon, you're good. Like that, you're considered lucky to be born in the Year of the Dragon. And you can look up, whatever your sign is if you're interested. You can type it into Google, find your Lunar New Year animal or whatever, something like that. So I'm the rooster, which is not that exciting, but that's the year I was born in. And you have to also keep in mind that the Lunar New Year begins in February. So if you were born in January, you would actually go for the year before. So if you were born this year in January, you would actually be born in the Year of the Rabbit, which was last year. So the Year of the Rabbit was supposed to be kind of introspective. Rabbits are more, gentle creatures. And now we're in the Year of the Dragon. So the Year of the Dragon, so I listened to a bunch of different talks on this and read some articles on it just for fun. So the dragon year and the wood are both considered yang. So yin and yang, right? So it's a very more outward energy. It's considered a year for taking risks, starting businesses, but also other things like extreme weather, which we're seeing, of course. So very forward energy associated with prosperity, wisdom, benevolence, as I mentioned. There's also kind of a shadow side to the dragon energy. So dragons can also be megalomaniacs. They can be a little bit sort of power hungry on their shadow side. They don't take defeat well. But despite their temper, they have very dogmatic ways and they're very idealistic. And they kind of have the attitude that they can change the world for the better. They're dynamic, bold, generous, talented, and intelligent. And even if you weren't born in the Year of the Dragon, you'll still be influenced by these things, according to the Chinese astrology. When paired with the wood element, it kind of softens it a bit, because the wood element, we think about like a plant growing or a tree growing. That's the energy of the wood element. It's associated with springtime. So as the plants kind of grow up and out of the ground, that's considered the wood energy. So a plant is flexible, right? It's not rigid. And so that's the energy of the wood element. There's this ability to bend but not break. So we see a tree, if it's growing up strong, it has good roots, the storms come and that tree just can kind of sway in the wind and it's not going to fall over and break. So that's kind of the energy that's paired with this bold, dynamic dragon energy. That's all about like moving forward and transformation. It's like, it's very positive actually. But again, there's that shadow side that we can look out for. So in our practice today, we're going to kind of work with the wood energy. We're going to do some dragon poses as well. But the wood energy, we're kind of do some like tree poses that add a side bend into it. So we'll do a lot of side bending. We'll start with our somatic work. We'll open up the rib cage a bit, and we'll go from there. All right. So if anyone's interested, you can always like do a little search and read more about the year of the dragon and what it might mean for your particular sign. So you can actually look up, like say I'm the rooster, it's actually supposed to be a really good year for roosters, so I'm excited about that. So it depends. The year of the dog, I guess, is not, if you're a dog, it's not a good year for you, so whatever. It's just fun to kind of look into it and learn about it if you're interested. So let's go ahead and come on our backs, unless you have any questions or thoughts about all that. All you need is a blanket down for now. And I'm going to go ahead and mute, and I'll meet you on the mat. Okay. So we'll start out by coming into our breathing, and today we're going to focus on rib cage breath. So place your hands on your rib cage, kind of front side area. And I'd like you to think about breathing into the rib cage. And just notice your breath here. So we'll be doing some side bending, which can open up the side body, open up the rib cage region. And all the muscles underneath our rib cage are related to breathing. So we want our rib cage area to be nice and supple. There's that wood element, that suppleness, so that our rib cage can expand to allow us to breathe in. A lot of us, however, there's a shortening of the side body. If we sit and we slump a lot, if we have stress, we have even illness, things can get tight underneath our rib cage. So we'll work to open that area up. Just kind of noticing what it feels like to breathe into your rib cage. All right, and then staying there on your back, continuing to breathe into your ribs and sides and front, maybe even your back ribs. And now we're going to bring our two palms together, and you're going to place your thumbs at your third eye. So knees can be bent or legs out, up to you. And the area here of the third eye is associated with our vision, our dreams, our imagination. And so dragon energy is very visionary. It's about really trying to see things from a new perspective, like dragons flying up high can see things from a new perspective. It's about visualizing what we want for both ourselves personally and what we want for the collective. So take a moment and maybe set an intention for your practice today, and maybe think about your vision for yourself and for the world at large. Let's take another breath or two just to think about that intention and vision. Okay, go ahead, slowly release your hands when you're ready. And now we're going to take our legs out straight and take them about max distance apart. So nice wide legs. And then inhale your arms overhead into a full body stretch. And then hold on to opposite elbows. From here, we're going to come into our first side bend. So take your upper body, let's say from the waist up, you're going to start to
side bend over to your right. So you're gonna move your rib cage, you're gonna move your shoulders, move your arms and your head till you feel like you're in a side bend. Now, once you arrive there, let both shoulders be on the floor. So don't roll toward your right, keep both shoulders flat. Take a breath or two to settle. Notice one side shortening, one side's lengthening, just like we did our spine practice last week. Now, if it would feel good for you, start to take your left leg and walk it over toward the right leg. And that's going to increase that side bend. Option here to cross your ankles, whichever ankle on top feels good, or leave them uncrossed. Now we're going to stay here in this position and add a few things on. So on your next inhalation, try to pull your arms apart from each other and contract your right side waist. So you're pulling your arms apart and side bending a little more by contracting the right side waist. And then relax and soften as you exhale. So that's the pattern. We're going to inhale, pull the arms apart, crunch a little bit more on that right side, and then exhale, relax, and soften. And let's do a few more rounds. Both hips should be on the ground, both shoulders on the ground. So we're not rolling toward the right hip or the right shoulder. Everything's flush to the ground. 2 more cycles on this side. Last one. And then after this one, let's go ahead and slowly release, walk back to the center, even out your body, and just take a breath in neutral. And you might notice that left side, maybe there's a little more energy flow going through there. Okay, legs as wide as the mat, arms overhead, and now see if you can put the opposite arm on the top. So opposite of what you normally do. And then go ahead and walk your upper body over to the left, coming into your side bend. And then settle for a breath or two. Both hips on the ground, both shoulders on the ground. Breathing into the right side body. And then as you're ready, go ahead and, if you like, shift the right foot over to the left. If that's too much, keep it where it is. Maybe cross your ankles. And then we'll go for that pulsation. As you inhale, pull the arms apart and side bend by trying to draw your left hip and your left shoulder towards each other. And then exhale to soften and release. And repeat. Inhale, engage. Exhale, release. Take 3 more of those. Really finish that exhale phase. And that's part of the somatic work in teaching the body to let go. 1 more. And then slowly make your way back to the center, uncross the legs, even yourself out, and just take that pause in the center. Okay, so now we're gonna add on to that. Make it very similar, but we're gonna do it in the tree pose on our backs, so that when we get up to stand and do it, there's sort of a little muscle memory. The body can kind of figure things out a little better. Let's go ahead, bring right knee into the chest. Give it a good squeeze. And then from there, keep the knee drawing in, but relax your arms and just take a few circles of that knee. So there's a little warm up for the hip. And then reverse it, go the other way. And then we'll set the foot down flat, right next to the left inner thigh, and then drop the knee open into tree pose. So your right foot is against your left inner thigh. If you like, you could always put a block under the knee if there's any discomfort there. And then again, we're going to take the arms overhead, hold opposite elbows, and then lengthen your left leg a little bit longer. So just reach through that left leg, flex the foot as if you're going to push that foot into a wall, and try to get your hips a little level here. So with that knee out to the side, we're going to tend to roll to the right, but can you ground your left hip? So if we're standing, we want our pelvis to be more neutral. Now let's come back into that side bend. We're going to go to the right toward that bent knee side. So lock your rib cage, your shoulders over. And then from here, take your right hand down by your right knee and take your left arm straight like a full body stretch. Okay, now as you inhale, reach through your left arm, left leg, but then side bend to your right and crunch that right side a little bit by drawing your hand down past your knee. Let your head roll to the right, and then exhale, relax. Okay, so reach through the left side, left leg, left arm, side bend, reach towards your knee or past your knee on that right side and contract the right side waist. Exhale, relax, and let's do a few more rounds. Also, you might press your left thigh down into the ground to engage the leg. One more. Good. Go ahead and release. Come back to the center. Now from here, we're going to bring that right knee back into the chest. And I forgot to tell you to have a strap nearby. I'm going to grab mine. If you don't have a strap, no worries. Don't get up. If it's nearby, use it. If you don't have one, you're going to use your hand, okay? Take your strap if you have it around your right foot, or you're going to hold the right foot and be in half happy baby. But if you have a strap, let's use it because we can use the strap for a little resistance. So we are going to do our other side of tree pose in a moment, but right now we're in half happy baby and the left leg is out straight. So now if we were to flip this pose upside down, we would be like in a lunge, right? We'd be in a lizard pose. And in yin yoga, the lizard pose is called dragon pose. So we're going to call it dragon pose tonight. What we're going to do is press your foot into your hand or into your strap. Create a little resistance by kind of pulling on the foot with your strap or your hand and widen the right knee out to the side. So this will be good warm up for doing our dragon poses later on. Good hip opener. So try that a few rounds. Press your foot into the strap, pull on your foot, maybe even press your foot laterally to the right a little bit into the strap to help open up the inner leg. And the inner leg is also associated with the wood element in Chinese medicine. It's the pathway of the liver and gallbladder, which are the two channels and two organs associated with the wood element in spring. One more breath here in this half happy baby. And then we'll let it go. And straighten the right leg. All right, just feel that right side now after that deep hip opener. And then we'll try our tree pose on the other side. So let's bring left knee into the chest. Give it a hug. And then let the arms relax and circle the knee around. Let's just start to bring a little fluidity into the hip joint, reverse. And then set the foot down close to the right inner thigh and drop that knee open into tree. Inhale your arms overhead. Hold opposite elbows with the opposite arm on top. And then side bend over toward your left knee and hold. Let your left hand come down towards your knee and take the right arm up into that full body stretch. Flex the right foot. And then as you inhale, reach through the right side, but then side bend, sliding your hand towards your knee and contract the left side. Press your right thigh into the ground and then relax and soften. And repeat that a few more rounds. Lengthen through that right side. Head could roll towards your left shoulder and release. And again. One more time. All right, go ahead and make your way back through the center. Bring the knee back up and into the chest. And then again, you're going to either use your strap or hold your foot. Come into a half happy baby. So the strap just gives us little arm extension and gives us something to press into. But if you don't have the strap, just hold your foot. Flex the foot. Actually, you can flex both feet. And then press your foot into the strap and maybe even a little out toward the side to help open up that hip. And take a few breaths there. Press and release. So it won't be a big release because you're going to stay in the pose, but it's just a little softening. And then again, press. And each time we do that press with resistance, we're creating a little more muscle engagement. And then as we soften, we're just relaxing it a little bit. One more there. Good, and let it go. Release. Both legs out. Take a little pause. Tune inward. Feel and sense your body and the energy flow you're creating. One more breath. Okay, from here we're going to roll over onto one side. Doesn't matter which side, and you're going to grab your tennis balls. Now, if you have a single, great. If not, we're going to just use the doubles and we'll try to slide one in. Right now, we're going to work with the double. And we're going to place the balls on the side ribs, and we're going to come down and lay our body weight right on top of the balls. Okay. Now, as we've talked about, the balls can be a little intense for some of us, so do feel free to put a layer of blanket on top to soften if it's feeling too intense. A lot of us are a little sore here along the side, and you may not even know it till you start to put the balls on it. Just like when I got my massage earlier, I was like, oh, I have no pain, I'm good, until she starts working on me. Then I'm like, oh yeah, I have pain. So same thing with the balls. It's like a deep pressure massage. Now, as you've settled the weight for a little bit, now start to rock kind of forward and back. And this helps to loosen up the tissue under the rib cage with that pressure. And can be really helpful for our breathing, but also for our side bending today to loosen this up in here. Now, if you have, like we talked about in the past, any brittle bones, osteoporosis, make sure you have that padding on top of the balls. You don't want to crack a rib. Now we're going to move the balls up a bit. So one ball is below your armpit and one ball is above your armpit, kind of on your upper outer arm. And that could be a little tender there as well. Let your weight settle for a couple of breaths. And then add a little rock if you like. Now, if the rocking is too much, just let your weight settle into the balls. And we're hitting probably likely some tender, stagnant areas. Okay. And then go ahead, release. Now, if you have a single ball, grab it. If not, just kind of squeeze your balls apart and stick one ball in. We're going to stick one ball right below the armpit. Now, it's more targeted when we use one ball, and it could be a little more intense. So again, pat it if needed. And let your weight settle. Feel that intensity and maybe add that rocking motion. Now remember, the more you do ball work, the less intense it feels. So, this is maybe something you haven't ever released. So it could be a little on the intense side. Go easy, that's the case. Okay, now move the ball up so it's above your armpit and slightly behind. So it's in your upper outer arm area. And don't worry if you're not if you're not getting exactly like where I am, but I'm going to show you. So it's kind of like right in here. Okay. But the fascia is continuous throughout the body. So if you don't have it exactly where I have it, it's not a big deal. You're still going to be stimulating the fascia. Okay. So again, settle for a breath or two. Sometimes it feels better to put your head down. That's going to give you more pressure, but supporting your head is going to be a little lighter. So kind of listen to your body there. And again, maybe rock a little bit. So loosening up these muscles here along the side ribs, we're also kind of hitting our muscle called the serratus. It can be helpful for side bending because if we're tight on our side ribs, sometimes we can't quite reach our arm. But if we release this fascia on the side, it will increase our range of motion and we'll be able to side bend a little better. Okay, come off of the ball onto your back. And now just pause and feel that right side or whichever side you did, feel the energy flow there. You might have now increased your awareness, your proprioception to this side of the body. All right, let's even ourselves out. We're going to go to our other side and then we're going to get moving after this. So start with your two balls and they're going to go along your side ribs. Okay, so stack them like right on top of each other. So you're hitting two spots. And with the two balls, it's usually less intense because there's a little more balance there. But when there's a single ball, it's going to go deeper into that tissue. Settle for a breath or two. And then when you're ready, adding in the rocking motion if that feels good. Okay, so we're going to now move it up and it's going to go kind of one ball below the armpit, one ball above. Okay. And then a couple breaths, a couple moments just to settle. And then add that rocking motion. You might also notice if one side is a lot more tender than the other. Often the case. Okay, so now we'll take those balls out and either use the single, slide one single in, or if you have a single, you're going to use that. Starting below the armpit somewhere, upper side body. Again, breathe through the intensity and maybe add the little rocking. Oh yeah, I'm feeling that one. It's the third time I'm doing this today and I'm still feeling it. It's really a tender area for me. Okay, and then move it up. So now upper outer armpit, so kind of in the fleshy area. Maybe a little less tender there for me. And then after you've had a moment to let your weight drop, then rock. Unless the rocking's too much, you can skip it. Okay, so we'll come off of that ball, come onto your back, and just observe for a couple moments. And now place your hands on your ribs and take a couple breaths like we did right from the beginning. And notice if there's any more flow here through your ribs. Is it easier to expand the ribs after some of that myofascial work? Okay. Let's go ahead, come around onto our side and up into a seated posture. And feel free if you want to sit up on something. Into cross legs. And if cross legs doesn't work for you, feel free to change it up. We'll sit up nice and tall. And then from here, take your right arm, reach it up. And we're gonna bring the hand behind the back as if you're gonna pat yourself on the back. And then take your other hand over to the floor. And we're gonna walk the left hand out, coming into another side bend. Okay, push down into that hand. And as you inhale, turn open toward the back. So you're open up into a tiny bit of a twist. And then as you exhale, come forward and bring your right elbow towards your left knee. And just feel that same area we just kind of worked. And we're gonna go in and out of that. Inhale, turn open, maybe even look up, lean back through that elbow, and then exhale, elbow comes around and towards your knee. And we'll do 3 more. We're working on suppleness here in the side body. So we work on the side bending tonight in the practice. And then we can bend so we don't break, right? We have more fluidity in our body and less rigidity. We're going to be less likely to injure ourselves. Okay, go ahead and slowly come back up to center. Release your arm down. And we'll do that on the other side. Inhale, reach the arm up. Bring your hand behind you. Walk your right hand out, coming into the side bend. And then inhale, open it up. Exhale, elbow toward the knee. And notice any differences first side to second side. On my first side, I was a lot tighter in my rib cage. My second side, I feel a little bit more on my lower back on the side, so the QL region. So a little bit different from side to side. You might notice something else. Two more. And then release, we'll come all the way back up. Okay, let's go into tabletop and we'll do our 5 cat-cows to child's pose. So when you're ready, set yourself up and take your 5 rounds. Take your time resting in child's pose after your 5th round. And we'll take a breath or two there. So if we are imbalanced in our wood element, we might be more rigid in our body and our mind. We might suppress our emotions, staying quietly rigid and unflexible in our views and behavior. We might have explosive reactivity, stubbornness, irritability. A wood imbalance can also make us timid and lack courage. So it could go either way. Go a little bit too rigid and controlling, and another way is just to be kind of timid and lack courage to express ourselves. Physical symptoms, we might have stiffness in the body, arthritis, tired eyes, blurred vision, migraines. We might be angry, impatient, aggressive. We might lack direction, purpose, and we might always need to be right. So those are some wood element characteristics that we can also sort of think about in terms of the dragon energy. Now from here, go ahead and come up to sit on your heels if that's comfortable. If you can't sit like that, pop a block underneath your seat to bring you up a little higher. And if that's still not working, then feel free to come back to cross legs. And we're gonna bring our 2 palms together at the 3rd eye again and press it there. And close your eyes, return to your idea of your vision for yourself, your vision for humanity in general. So the dragon year is expected to be a time for visionary leaders, innovators, problem solvers. A great year to start new projects, explore new opportunities, be adventurous and optimistic. So I'm going to share just a little reading. Continue to hold there. This is a little saying from the Upanishads, which is one of the ancient yogic texts. You are what your deepest desire is. And as your desire is, so is your intention. And as your intention is, so is your will. And as your will is, so is your deed. And as your deed is, so is your destiny. All right, go ahead, release, bring hands down through the heart and come back into tabletop position. Now from here, take your right leg in front of your left leg, like Gomukhasana pose, and you're gonna take your feet toward opposite sides of your mat. And then start to shift your hips back towards your heels any amount. Now, if this is too much for anyone, do the same thing without crossing your legs, because from here, we're gonna come into a side bend. So your right leg's in front, you're sitting back a little bit, and then you're gonna walk your hands over to the right. And then kind of push your hands forward and draw your hips back away from your hands. Let your head come down and breathe. So nice stretch into the hips as well as maybe a little side body. And from here, come forward a little bit and then press back again. You're gonna do that 2 more rounds. Come forward a little bit and press back. 1 more. Then come back through center, back to tabletop. The legs are still crossed with the right leg in front. And now walk it over to the left. So we're gonna be doing this 2 times on each side. So we're gonna cross the legs differently after we do this side. So now press back, walk your hands forward, let your head come between your arms, and take a couple of breaths there. Again, you can do this with legs uncrossed if need be. Send your breath to wherever you're feeling limitation in your body. And now let's go in and out. So shift forward and shift back. 2 more like that. Shift forward, back. 1 more. Walk it around to the center, uncross your legs, and move back into child's pose. Coming back up into table for side 2. Bring your left leg around to the front. Take your feet toward opposite sides. And now we're going to walk over toward your left and start to shift back. Hold it for a couple breaths. Push your arms forward. Breathe into any restriction you're feeling. And then 3 rounds, shift it forward and shift it back. 2 more like that. And then walk it back around to center and over to side 2. Walk your hands forward, shift your hips back, and take a couple breaths. And then 3 rounds, shift it forward and move it back. And then walk it back to the center, uncross the legs, back to child's pose 1 more time. Okay, we're going to clear our mat of any blankets so we can have a little bit more stability and find your way to downward facing dog. We'll get into our flow portion. So first dog, you could move around, pedal it out a bit. And then go ahead and walk forward top of the mat, folding over your legs. Let's come into halfway lift and fold forward. Inhale, reach your arms all the way up. And exhale, hands to your heart. Very good. Okay, so we're gonna go through some sun cells. We're gonna add in a couple variations. You can modify anything that you need to. Make sure your blocks are at the top of your mat. You wanna have those nearby. Okay, so let's go through a couple of Surya Namaskars, adding in some variety, a couple little things. So inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold. Halfway lift. And then step back, plank pose, top of a push-up. Option to drop knees if you prefer. Go ahead, lower down. Inhale, cobra. Exhale, down dog. We're gonna take our right leg and sweep it up. Bend the knee and open the hip up. So the knee lifts, and then from here, bring that knee forward and see if you can tap your elbow. And if that's too much, just keep the down dog hip opener. Good, and then straighten the leg, set the foot down. Let's try that on the other side. Sweep the left leg up, bend the knee, open the hip, and then come forward, tap the elbow. Bring it back up, set the foot down. Take an inhale, exhale, walk it forward, top of the mat. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale, arms reach. Exhale, hands to your heart. Good. From here, bend your knees, come into chair pose. Bring your weight back into your heels and lengthen through the tailbone and lift through the lower abdomen. Hold it here. We're gonna add a breath of fire here. So when you're ready, most of you guys have done this before, it's a contraction of the abdomen. Take an inhale and then exhale, begin to pump the belly. Breathe out through your nose, powerfully. Good, inhale, hold the breath. Exhale, release a little deeper into the chair or come down into a squat and touch the floor. Good, from here, we're gonna rise up, rise all the way up, open the arms wide and maybe lift your heels. Good, bring it back down, either into chair or all the way down into a squat. And this is that wood energy. It rises up and it bursts open. Maybe lift your heels and back down. One more time. Rise up, reach out, maybe heels come up and back down. Good, go through another Surya Namaskar. Inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold. Halfway lift. Step it back, plank pose. Lower down, knees can drop. Inhale, cobra. In Eastern traditions, the dragon is a little bit more like a serpent. It's got a really kind of wiggly body. Move yourself back to down dog. And let's inhale the right leg up. Bend the knee, open the hip. Tap the elbow or stay where you are. Bring it back up, straighten the leg. Bend the knee, open the hip, tap again. 2 times. And release the foot. Sweep the left leg up. Bend the knee, open the hip, tap the elbow. Come back up, straighten the leg. One more time. Good, release the foot. Walk it forward, top of the mat. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Good, bend your knees, chair pose. Okay, let's do another round of breath of fire. So take an inhale. Exhale, begin to pump your belly. Breath comes out through your nose. Inhale, hold the breath at the top. Exhale, release down into your squat. Grab a block this time. And as you rise up, bring your block with you. All the way up, lift your heels. Lower your heels. Side bend to your right with your block. Inhale, come up. Side bend to your left with your block. Inhale, come center. Exhale, back down. Set your block down. Inhale, rise up, open the arms wide, lift your heels. Exhale, heels down, hands to your heart. One more time through Surya Namaskar. We're gonna try and do 3 elbow taps this time. Inhale, reach your arms up. Exhale, fold forward over your legs. Halfway lift, step it back, plank pose. Good, lower down, inhale through your cobra. Exhale, downward facing dog. Okay, you can hold your dog and skip all this business if you want. Child's pose is also always available. Remember, be yielding, be flexible, and be benevolent. Reach the right leg up, inhale. Bend the knee, open the hip, tap the elbow. Bring it back up. Open the hip, tap the elbow. One more time. Good, and then other side. Lift the left leg up, bend the knee, open the hip, shift forward to plank, elbow tap. 2 more rounds. Good, down dog. Walk it forward, top of the mat. Halfway lift, inhale. Exhale, fold. Inhale all the way up. Exhale, hands to your heart. Good. Hands on your hips. Take your right foot, cross it in front of your left foot. Be on the ball of your right foot. And feel like you're squeezing inner thighs together and keeping your tailbone drawing down and your abdomen lifting up. From here, reach the arms up. Take your right hand down toward the floor. Keep your left arm reaching up. Take an inhale, reach higher, and then side bend toward your right. And keep rooting into that straight leg foot. Keep hugging the inner thighs, and try not to roll your chest forward, keep your shoulder back. Good, and slowly come up, both arms up, and step it down. Good, other side, cross the other foot in front, left foot in front. Inhale, reach the arms up. Left hand comes down, right arm stays up. Inhale, reach up, exhale, side bend. Hold it there, standing leg nice and strong. Inner thighs hug in. And release, all the way back up. And fold forward over your legs. Halfway lift, inhale. Step it back, plank pose, or you can go right to dog if you want to skip the vinyasa. Okay, no elbow tap this time, just reach the right leg up. Step it through, bring your foot to the outside edge of your mat, and we come into our first dragon pose. So dragon pose is lizard pose, but in the yin tradition, we call it dragon, so we'll hold it a little bit longer. Feel free to stay up on your hands or use your blocks. You might come down onto your forearms. And we're going to stay there for a few breaths. Now, option to start to roll onto the pinky edge of your front foot, and that's called wing dragon when we open that knee out to the side. And then we'll stay there for a few breaths. If that bothers your knee, keep your foot flat. Good, staying here. Or coming into a twist, bringing your right hand to your right inner thigh and turn open. Again, hold it for a few breaths. So sometimes we think when we're more still, it's easier, but it often is not because that heat builds and that's where it becomes a little more dragon-like. It can get a little fiery, but that heat is what can help us transform and create that change. Okay, so now come out of the twist, back to center. Bring your foot flat again. We open the knee. Start to come back up onto your hands. Move the blocks out of the way if you don't need them. We're going to come into a side bend by walking the hands over to the left. Now, as you walk your hands to the left, resist your right inner thigh and knee to the right. And we open up that right inner thigh a bit more. You can stay here or lift your back knee if you want more power. If you want to keep it more relaxed, keep that knee down. Keep resisting that right knee and right inner thigh to the right. Don't let it drop in. Good. Release the back knee down. Walk yourself back to center. Walk the foot back to center. And grab one block, placing it off to the right side. And come on up, hands on your front thigh. Okay, from here, block can be on whatever level you need it to be. Place your right hand on the block and reach your left arm up. Hug your inner thighs towards each other, root down into your feet. And we're going to come into a side bend to the right. So I'm going to lower my block. I'm going to start to bring my left arm over to the right. Keep a little bit of tailbone moving forward, rooting down, hugging in with the inner thighs. And as you hold, maybe you can lower that block and get deeper into that side bend. Breathe into that left side and think about lifting your left rib cage off your hip by reaching through that arm. This way, use the balls to really open up that side. And then let's release. Hand comes down. Step your foot back. And let's go into child's pose to temper that fire. So remember, the wood element tempers the energy of the dragon. Keeps the dragon a little more flexible, less rigid, less forceful, more yielding. Okay, let's go ahead, come to down dog, and we're going to do that dragon sequence on the other side. So when you're ready, down dog, inhale, left leg up, step it through, foot comes nice and wide toward that left edge of your mat. And then staying up on your hands or coming onto your forearms. You can go all the way to the floor, or you can use your blocks underneath your forearms. Hold it for a few breaths here before we start to go into some of those add-ons. So the dragon is known as the benevolent leader, who really kind of looks out for the people. That sense of benevolence. Has a vision for the betterment of the world. So we might hold that vision as we hold these poses of how we could envision the world as a better place. Now, winged dragon if you like, so roll onto the pinky edge of that front foot. Again, if that's too much, keep the foot flat. And then from here, the dragon twist, bring your left hand to left inner thigh, turn open into the twist. All right, start to slowly come back through center, bringing that foot flat. And maybe you can lose the block, so we come into that side bend. Walk your hands over to the right. And then resist the left inner thigh, left knee toward the left. Don't let it collapse in. Option to tuck your toes and lift that back knee if you want to go more power. Otherwise, keep that knee down. And then inner thigh continues to resist toward the left. And let's slowly bring the knee down if you lifted it. Walk it back to center and walk the foot back to center. Grab your one block, place it off to your left side, and come on up into your lunge. Okay, from here, that block might start up on the high level. We're going to reach the right arm up. Inhale, reach that arm up. Think about lengthening that whole side, and then come into your side bend towards your left. Inner thighs hug in, root into the ground. And then think about lifting your right rib cage off of your pelvis by lifting through your arm. Maybe you'll start to lower your block. Really nice stretch through the psoas, the hip flexor, the rib cage, the outer shoulder. And slowly come back up and release. Make your way back to child's pose once again. We're running out of time, so we got to do our side bending tree before we finish. So one more breath there. And when you're ready, downward facing dog, make your way to stand. So walk it forward and coming back up into mountain pose. Okay. So we're going to stand on our right leg and we're going to come into the kickstand tree to start out. So we're going to keep that foot on the floor because we're going to be moving in our tree and it might be really challenging to have that foot off the floor. You'll have the opportunity to lift it later. Press your foot and your inner leg together. Keep your tailbone lengthening, your belly lifting, and let's take the arms and reach them up. Now pretend you're holding your block between your hands. Remember we did the side bends with the block. Reach your imaginary block up as high as you can, and then side bend towards your left, towards your bent knee. And still pretend you're holding that block, and don't turn your chest, keep your chest open. And then back up, and then over to the other side. Good, so let's try that again. Inhale, center, exhale, side bend. Inhale, center, exhale, side bend. But inhale, center, and now release your left hand down, keep your right arm up, and side bend. Now, those of you who wanted to, you could lift that foot. I'm not going to today. I've been having some vertigo last week or two, so I'm going to keep it down. But if you want, you can start with the foot, start in center, lift the foot, then side bend, okay? So go ahead and take your choice. Either that foot stays on the ground. Might recommend that with the side bend. Keep your chest open. Think about lifting the rib cage on that right side. Maybe that'll help you side bend a little more. The tree bending in the storms of life, but not breaking. Good, slowly come up and release, shake it out. And let's try that on the other side, standing on your left leg. Right heel comes up. Press the foot and shin together. Root down, make that leg nice and strong, and then arms up. Hold your imaginary block between your hands. So your arms are not floppy, they're engaged. And then we side bend to the right. Inhale, come up. Side bend to your left. And we'll go one more time each side, then we'll hold it. And we'll come back to the right, release the right hand down, unless you want to pause and lift the foot. And then start to lift the left rib cage by reaching through the arm and then side bend a little more. Keep those hips firming in. We don't want to let that left hip pop out. Keep it firming in. Really press your left foot into the floor. Or I'm sorry, I'm mirroring you guys, so it would be probably your right, but my left. Good, and then slowly start to come up and shake it out. Very good. Okay, let's inhale, reach the arms up. Exhale, fold. Halfway lift. And then we're gonna step it back to down dog, bring your knees down and come into a seated posture. And we're gonna go into wide legs. They may end just a few minutes late. So sometimes this pose is called dragonfly, especially in yin yoga. We're gonna point the knees and the toes up. And we're gonna do another side bend. So I'm gonna have you take your left hand across to your right hip. And then reach your right arm up. Inhale, reach up and start to lean toward your left. And maybe your elbow is gonna be your support, or maybe you can come all the way to your upper arm, maybe above the elbow. If this is too much on your top arm, keep it more vertical or on your hip or behind your head, or reach through that arm. So we open up that same place where we had the balls. Think about lifting your rib cage away from your pelvis and reach more through that top arm. And hold it there, another breath, really reach, reach, reach. And then top hand to the top hip. Press that hip down to slowly come up. Pause in the center. So listen to your body. How far you go into this one is up to you. It's a pretty deep pose. So now we're going to do the other side. So we're going to bring the opposite arm, right arm over and left arm up. Good. Inhale, reach that arm up and start to lean towards your right elbow, might touch the knee. Or you might bring your upper arm, not your forearm, your upper arm onto your thigh. Remember, choose an arm position that feels comfortable for you. Stay grounded through your sit bones. And then lift your rib cage off the pelvis to lengthen the side body. Maybe go deeper into that side bend. Thighs are pressing down, active through the legs. Good, and then bring that hand back to the hip. Root the hip down to press up. That'll take some of the strain out of your lower back. And then hands in the center, come into a wide leg forward fold. Go as far there as you like. Stay up higher or come deeper as per your range of motion. And again, inner thigh work is very good for wood element. The pathway of the liver meridian is going through the inner thighs. And liver is very much related to the emotion of anger, which is part of the shadow of the wood element. Let's take 2 or 3 more breaths. Okay, very slowly start to bring yourself up. Use your hands, draw your legs together, and let's go ahead, come onto your back. Made it. I swear I need like 2 hours for these classes because there's more that we could have done tonight. So make your way onto your back and then finish up with anything that you might want to do. You want to do a happy baby. Maybe you want to do just some knee hugs or some windshield wipers, some circles, maybe a quick little twist. And then do whatever you need to do before coming into Shavasana. So I'll give you guys another minute or two to get settled. So it's important to stay grounded during dragon season, or the year of the dragon rather. So there's a cycle of life with the elements in Chinese medicine. Water nourishes wood, and then wood creates fire, and then fire turns to ash and becomes earth. Without earth, fire can get out of control. So let's let ourselves return to earth now. Let your body just have a sense of releasing down into the ground. Notice your breath in your rib cage, maybe a little comparison from when you first observed your breath at the very beginning of class. All those side bends and the myofascial work, we opened up that area. We're often restricted and rigid, created more suppleness, so our breath moves more freely. The dragon energy is very independent and freedom loving, and it needs the freedom to be in an environment where it can expand, where it can be creative and to express. So dragons don't like to be, locked up, held down, like that freedom of expression. The dragon energy is one of a dreamer, leading by the heart, believing in his success, making an impact on the world with no limits. But without being grounded, we can become an impractical dreamer and go with an enthusiastic start, but not have the wherewithal to finish what we started. So feel that sense of groundedness to keep those dreams in reality. One of my teachers, Rod Stryker, says we are each part of a grand and extraordinary whole. The more we pay attention to the innate spark of creativity, spirituality, and illumination that lies in our hearts, the more we actually nurture that same spark that is the essence of life itself. And the more I support my individual highest being, the more I support the collective well-being. And just like that vision we created both for ourselves individually and for making the world a better place. Let's take a couple more minutes just to rest and let go. I'm going to start to return now, coming back to awareness. Inviting in some smaller movements, deeper breaths. Take your time to move as you like. Just go slowly and eventually coming onto your side for a pause. And after a pause on your side, let's go ahead and meet back in a seated position. And once again, we're going to do thumbs to the brow center. And just press into that third eye region. Close the eyes if that's comfortable. Remembering your vision, holding your vision for yourself, for the whole of humanity. One more little passage. This is written by Rumi. You were born with potential. You were born with goodness and trust. You were born with ideals and dreams. You were born with greatness. You were born with wings. You were not meant for crawling, so don't. You have wings. Learn to use them and fly. Let's lower those hands in front of the heart and take an inhale. Exhale, bow inward, closing your practice. Namaste.